This is about you, Bryan. John Joseph was talking about you on Joe Rogan's podcast about a fight, some crazy fight you're in.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know about this?
You were in when
I told you I'd been in fights. Let me hear this. I haven't seen this.
I was invited. I was like, hopefully we get along and have a fucking dope conversation.
We got along. It was fun.
Dude, I have massive respect. You know, Brian's a crazy motherfucker. I tell a story. You know, that whole school down there was I wanted to tell this story about Brian because he.
Bryan Callen?
Yeah. Fucking. He's hilarious.
So,
this guy's accent tells me he beats people pretty hard.
Tony Ortiz is one of the senior students of Master Choi. Another guy, we'll call him Chuck, but he's with the government now. He's a fucking bad motherfucker. So they always used to go around and want to fight bouncers and all this shit. That was what they did. They would fucking fight the biggest, scariest looking motherfuckers and just destroy them. So Blue worked... I said his name, sorry, but working with Cro-Mags and stuff. We took him out security with us in case we had problems or whatever. So it was like everything always went smooth. So one time I used to work at all the underground hip hop clubs in New York. So my friend was doing a party, and it was all fucking deep Brooklyn heads, fucking like homeboys and shit, like the real deal, this hip hop club. And I take Brian, another dude from the school, and Tony, and we go over there. And Brian is in the middle of the fucking dance floor doing the funky fucking white boy nerd dance, and all these fucking, and the floor just opens up, and these fucking black fucking hip-hop crazy fucking homeboys are like, yo, look at this motherfucking white boy, like, it's bugging, and he don't give a fuck. He's seriously like a fucking pisser to roll with. So then I'm like, yo, I gotta go, but listen, man, I know what y'all motherfuckers do. Don't start no shit. Please, it's my friend's club. So I get home, go to sleep, wake up the next day, get a fucking phone call. Yo, like, he didn't know that they were with me. He's like, yo, there was these 3 fucking karate experts in the club last night, and they beat up all my fucking bouncers, dude. It was fucking crazy. Like, and one bouncer walked up and started some shit with Tony was trying to talk to a girl or whatever. And then, like, you know, this guy, he's all on the juice, rips off his shirt, like, fucking Tony throws a kick, fucking dislocates the guy's fucking kneecap. And then
the knee, first move, the knee.
The melee just ensued, and it was just constant. These fucking huge bouncers coming at him, and Brian's like, bah, 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 fucking. Brian could fight. Brian is, you know.
Look at Joe saying nothing.
He's a comedian, but he could throw down. And then Brian just told me this because I didn't hear the other part. He goes, yeah. Then all of a sudden, I'm fucking whacking these dudes, and we're fighting these guys, and then this fucking gigantic motherfucker, like, I was just like a little fucking baby in his arms, lifts me up and carries me out the fucking door and throws me across this car. And I look, and I turn around, and I'm ready to go, and then Brian says, and I look, and it's this fucking crazy white dude with a fucking scar from one end of his face down his throat, and he points at Brian and goes, don't even think about it. And like Brian was like, yo. But my friend called me up the next day. He's like, these motherfuckers. And I call him up, and I'm like, Brian, the fuck did you do, man? I told you guys to fucking keep chill. He's like, yo, these bouncers were assholes. And, you know, it was, he's a character. Like I said, I was at his first comedy show ever.
He lived a wilder life in his young days.
Yeah.
I met him after all that stuff. I met him when he was more calm. I met him in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in big Master Choi.
Anyway, I wish I was crazier. I mean, that makes me sound like a tough guy, which I never was. But I did get in. I did. That story is funny because what really was going on is we were at the club, we were kind of drinking, and I never looked for fights. I never, you know. But when you're young and you're flirting with your own mortality and you're training, and this is before jiu-jitsu, and I wrestled and I was obsessed with taekwondo.
You don't want to only hit tennis balls against the wall. You want to play a match.
What I always say for me, being the pussy that I am, but at least I did go to tournaments, and back then you did fight. You did try to knock each other out. Taekwondo, like when you're like in tournaments, you people get knocked out. You get knocked out, and you do kick people, and my teacher was a boxer, so we would practice hitting mitts and stuff like that.
I got to green belt.
Well, yeah, but so I was obsessed with it, and I tried to be the guy I'm not, which is be a real fighter.
Right.
But in this particular case, we were there, and these fucking two dudes. I'm with my buddy, and I'm just there to try to pick up girls, and this fucking guy rips his shirt off. And I remember going, that's the best body I'd ever seen. He wasn't even the bouncer. He was just this big, huge, muscular guy. And then my buddy is standing in front of him, and this fight kind of breaks out over here, this kind of shoving match. And he looks at my buddy, and he pushes my buddy. And so my buddy just goes, bop, 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 and like just catches him. And then the guy next to him, he pulled his shirt off. And he had the best. Again, I remember going, that guy has such a good body. And he came at me, and then he wasn't a fighter, and I was doing that,
Yeah.
But I was so jealous of how big and muscular and handsome he was that it added to my insecurity and my, anyway. And when I hit him, instead of fighting back, he grabbed his face.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I thought it would be. And
you don't get punched in the face.
But the guy, the truth, to forget all that stuff. What really happened to me was, as I'm fighting this guy and then this other guy, it became a melee. I got grabbed by a giant man who started running me out, and my buddy, who's a slick fucker, he goes, get him out of here, because he was going to get thrown out. But he was pretending to help the guy throw me out. He goes, he's a fucking asshole. I saw him hitting him. Let's go. No, I'm helping him. And because they were going to try to throw him out. So he ran out with him as he's yelling at me, pretending, yeah, you piece of shit, get him out. And the guy took me, I never forgot this. This is not an exaggeration. From the door, I remember he threw me, and I went, oh, I'm telling you this. This is not, I flew over the sidewalk and onto the car.
Wow.
I landed for real. Like, think about that. How big is a New York sidewalk? He threw
6
me.
feet, 7 feet.
I don't know what it is, but I remember going through the air, and I landed on the hood of the car, and I turned around. I was in a frenzy, and I was like, and I did. I saw this giant dude. I remember he had this scar, and he was older. He was probably 38, and but a man, and a bear, and there was nothing. My taekwondo is no good here.
You get in the stance.
Your high school wrestling taekwondo. You're 155 or whatever I was. I would have gotten fucking, and I did. He said, "Don't think about it." And in that moment, I went. I sobered up, and I went, oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. I'm not mad anymore.
Bigness is fascinating.
Yeah, that kind of bigness. The way the bodybuilding stuff, to me, when you spend your time, enough time, even now with boxing and stuff, if I see some giant muscle guy who's all muscular who really spends time on it, I'm going to fight that guy. The guy I'm not going to fight is the athlete. The guy I'm afraid of is the young dude who's got his ears, or he's got a neck. I look at thighs, neck, and hands.
The neck is a real, because you're like, I'm going to punch him in the head, and his head's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. And also, by the way,
calves,
be afraid of everybody.
Big calves?
Yeah.
Thighs are a big, if a guy's got a big ass, you're going to lose.
Or he's just a dude. There are plenty of guys who look like nothing who will change your whole life.
They're the ones.
But by the way, John Joseph, that's the real deal. Like, he's real. See, I'm not. I love that he says I'm crazy and all.
Fighting is so fascinating.
I wasn't.
Fighting,
I grew up with money, with a family. I'm a pussy. Boarding school. I wasn't. I'm a pussy. That guy, that's the guy in the Lower East Side who used to meet me at Houston Street because he had to walk me to his house on Ludlow. Because that's how the Lower East Side, he grew up with no family. He grew up, they called him Mighty Whitey in jail. He went to Spofford.
Wow.
John grew up harder than anybody I knew. And John, in 1985, 1986, 1987, when none of you were born, in the Lower East Side, when the expression was A, you're adventurous, you go to Avenue, B, you're bold, C, you're crazy, and D, you're dead. John lived down there. And I met people through John, from Hell's Angels to you name it, everybody respected John. And everybody knew what John was capable of.
Yeah.
John was real. And John had the true street cred. Like that accent and all that, he grew up for real. John had tattoos on his body in 1987. You didn't know anybody who had tattoos. John was covered in, John would shredded, built like a brick shit house, and would wear overalls only and walk down the street in the Lower East Side and was a vegetarian, was a Hare Krishna at 13, because that's all he had. So John is a man with tremendous character, and I love him. That's one of the best people I know.
People who know
one of the best people I know.
Have the ability to quickly...
Well, he didn't have a choice. So there's a difference between guys who train and guys like that who really grew up on the street.
Yeah.
Really squatted in buildings. Really had no family.
Yeah.
Really had... Here's what I wanted to say this about him because it's important. I saw John... When John had no money, John would never take money. Like you could never lend John money. I don't give a fuck how broke he was. I remember one time it was the winter time and John had no money, no money at all. And I said, "What are you going to do?" And he goes, "I'll figure it out." And there was a guy there who was a homeless guy, who John saw it was too cold, and John had $5, and John needed that $5. He really did, and he gave it to the guy. And then John gave him his coat. Jeez. That's for real.
Yeah.
John gave him his coat in the wintertime because John didn't want to see, because he knew this homeless guy. And John didn't want to see him cold. I've seen that motherfucker give when it really counted. I've never done that in my life. So, I mean, I've never given when it really hurt. I give to money and I give to people, but I never give. I don't know who I am I don't know who I am in those situations.
You've never given a thing you didn't know you were going to be able to get back.
Yeah, but I get it back. No, I've never given anything that cost me.
Yeah.
I've never been in that position. Yeah. I don't know who I am. He knows who he is.
People that I find people that have been to prison and grew up really, really hard, they actually are some of the most empathetic people you'll ever meet in your entire life.
That's right.
They'll listen to the whole story like, well, he's in jail. Well, why?
Yeah.
Well, what happened? They want to know it all because they know a lot of people that have put in situations out of their control and got caught up.
Yeah.
You can get caught up.
Yeah.
There are certain instances that are and what are you going to do when you have no other choices? All of us like to look down on people that steal, but if you have nothing and no choices, you're going to fucking do what you have to do.
Yep. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Yeah.
Watch your tone.
Okay. What's going to happen? What are you going to do? Use some of that boxing you've been doing?
Don't you fucking disrespect.